Hi there. So, my name is Em and I am a musician. Now, I work a lot with young people and kids, and I show them how to play instruments, and I show them mainly how to use computers to make music. This is something that I do a lot, and I use various different programs. The one that we're going to look at today is something called GarageBand. Now, this is an app that you can get on Apple products, so iPhones, iPads, or any Apple computer. And it's also something that's used a lot in schools. So you might have already seen it in school, in music lessons. Sometimes you might have used it already. So the reason that GarageBand is really great is that there are elements to it that makes it really easy to use if you've never ever played a musical instrument before. Now, the goal of this is to allow you all to experience making music on loads of different instruments without having to learn how to play them all. So if we have a look at the interface, so you can see my face, but also you should be seeing the iPad screen. Now, I've got a mouse attached, so that little dot is the mouse that I'm going to use to try and help point to things. So there are loads of different instruments. So we've got keyboard, as you can see here. We've got drums. Now there are two types of drum tracks, and I will show you the second one in a minute. But this one is for you to play your own drums into. We've got an amp, and this is for audio signals, so you can plug your guitar into the iPad and use the amp setting so you can make it sound like loads of different types of guitar. There's an audio recorder just in general, so there's like a microphone that you use to sing, or you can also use it to record other instruments that aren't guitars. We've got the string section. We've got a bass. We've got a guitar. We've got some world instruments. And this is the second drum track, which is called Drummer. Now this is where you have like a virtual drummer in the iPad that make all of the drum beats for you. So you don't have to be able to play drums to get a really great drum beat into your song. Now, the first video we're going to do, which is what I'm going to do right now, is we're just going to focus on one element. Now I'm just going to scroll over to guitar. So I'm going to show you on a guitar track, and then I'll show you what it sounds like on some other instruments. Now, on the screen, in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see this thing called Smart Guitar. Now, a lot of the instruments on here have this element that's called like the Smart Instrument. Now, what this means is that they've made it really simple and really easy for you to make up your own part on this instrument, even if you've never played it before. And that's why I love it. So if you've never picked up a drum kit before, tried to play a drum kit, there are ways that they make it a lot easier for you to program your own thing in without having to really understand how to do it. With guitar and keyboard, you can play chords without having to learn all the notes first. And so you can play and learn at the same time, and I think that's a really, really great way of doing it. So we're just going to have a look at what happens when we click on the Smart Guitar. So it takes you to this screen. Now, there are a few elements that I'm just going to point out to you that we won't be using today, but I'm just going to keep reminding you of them every time I do a video. So now this big red button here is exactly what you think it would be. It's the record button. So you can play about with the instrument, and then once you're like, oh, I really love this guitar part I've come up with, you can record it and have it forever on GarageBand. Next to it is this little sideways triangle. That's the play button. So once you've recorded something, you can play it back and listen to it. And this button here, which is a triangle going the other way with a line sort of meeting it, this takes you back to the beginning of the song. So the way that we work in GarageBand is we work in bars. You don't really need to know what a bar is, but they're basically just little sections of music. And so when you record, working in bars becomes a lot easier. But for now that you know where record and play is, so if you want to record something and listen to it back, you can. So, guitar. So what the iPad has done is it's chosen a key signature for you. You don't need to know what a key signature is. That's fine. But it's chosen C major. Now, there are loads of different chords, but what this does for you automatically is choose chords that go really nicely together. So it doesn't really matter what order you play them in, but they should sound nice. So let's have a go. So there are a couple of ways you can play around with it. So I could just press the top of the strip. Sounds nice. You can also go from the bottom up and play each string individually in the chord. Sounds really nice. Sounds like an acoustic guitar. So if you just want to play through the chords like that, you can use your finger and you can just literally strum the guitar chords that are already there. It sounds really nice. Now there are a couple of other things to pay attention to on this particular screen. So the first one is the top left hand corner where my mouse is at the moment. It says acoustic and there's a picture of an acoustic guitar. So an acoustic guitar, like this picture you can see, is the ones that have a really hollow body. So there's a big old box at the end of the guitar which has got a lot of air in it, and that's how it makes it so loud when you play it. Now if we click on this, we can choose different types of guitar sounds. So if you don't want to play an acoustic guitar but you want to play a hard rock guitar, you can change and go, do you know what, I want to play this one instead. And let's have a listen to what this sounds like. It's very heavy. And what they also give you the option to do here is you see these two squares have just popped up. These are guitar pedals. Now, if ever you've seen videos of musicians playing guitar, or if your parents play guitar, or if you know someone, if you've ever seen anyone play guitar live, or if you haven't, try and see if you can find video footage. They have these things called guitar pedals. They're about this big, so they're not massive, but each of them change how the guitar sounds depending on which one you buy. So you can have a little go at pressing these buttons. See what difference it makes. So I'm going to go back to the acoustic. So when you go onto the electric guitar sounds, you can see now electric guitars don't have the big hole and the big box at the end, so they're not very loud. So that's why they need to be plugged into amplifiers, which are speakers that just make it louder, and you can add loads of different effects to it. But so we're just going to focus on acoustic guitar for now. So you can change the type of guitar it is. You can just strum them, or you can just hit the note at the top and it will play the chord for you. Now, you can also have this thing called autoplay, which basically means that it will play a little rhythm for you. So there are 4 different types. So let's just have a listen and see what happens. So I've put it on number 1. So it sounds like someone's strumming the guitar, doesn't it? What happens if I go on number 2? So the notes are just individual notes now. I don't know if you can hear that. So instead of strumming, it sounds like they're finger picking with their fingers. Let's try number 3. So it's very similar to number 2, but it's a bit faster. What about number 4? Again, very similar, but it's just slightly different. So autoplay can be really useful because it will just keep going, and you can change the chords as you go, like this for example. Sounds quite nice. And then instantly you've got the chord sequence to a song. So if you're like, I've always wanted to learn how to play guitar and sing, you could use an iPad with GarageBand on it. You can come up with a chord sequence really easily and then write some words and sing along to it. And it's that easy. Now, you can do this with every single instrument. So let's just run over the 3 main things to pay attention to. So we've got the autoplay function. When it's off, you have complete control and you can see the strings come back. The second thing is the chords at the top. So you can play them in any order that you like. A little tip for when you're writing a song on guitar, try and choose about 4 chords and stick to them in a certain order and repeat them. That's quite a nice way just to have something you can come up with some lyrics over. So that'd be my top tip if you want to have a go. And then the third thing is the top left, which shows you what kind of instrument. So now let's just have, if you're like, oh, I'm done with guitar, I want to play something else. Just above where it says acoustic and there's a picture of guitar, you can click on here. This will take you back to that menu that we looked at. So now I'm going to go over, I'm going to have a look at the drums. So now there is a smart drums option, and this is going to work slightly differently to the guitar. So, in a drum kit, there are lots of different elements. And the only way that you're really going to know what each of these things does is by listening to it. So, let's have a listen. So it's got the words underneath. So if you've never seen a drum kit before, it's fine. So every drum kit has a thing called a kick drum, which is just here. Now, this square here, it has 4 words on it. It has simple, loud, complex, and quiet. So if we want our drums to be quite quiet, we'll put them all down at the bottom. So from the bottom of the square is quiet and the top of the square is loud. So depending on where you put it, depends on how loud it is. Now from left to right, so sideways, will change how complicated the part gets. So if it's on simple, they're just going to be playing very simple things. And if it's on complicated, there might be a few more elements and a few more bits of rhythm in there. So let's just have a listen and see what happens. So you've got to drag each part in. So I'm going to do it in order. So we've got kick drum. Now I've put this quite loud, but not too complicated. If you want to hear what they sound like, you can just click on them and it'll give you a little preview. So we've got everything in now. We've got a kick drum, we've got a snare drum, we've got some claps, we've got a hi-hat, which is a cymbal, so those are the metal things, and we've got some other cymbals, and then we've got a shaker. Now you might have used the shaker before at school again. Now if I'm like, this sounds cool, but I want to change it up a bit, we can just move it. So you can hear it changes. I moved the shaker up into the top corner. It's suddenly very loud and it's doing a lot of stuff. So there's a lot happening. So that's really exciting. So again, you don't need to know anything about drums to have a go at this. So when you pick up an iPad and it's got GarageBand on it, you can go onto the smart drums and you can add all the elements in and just do it from what sounds good. That's all we really need to worry about. Don't worry so much about knowing the names of things or knowing chords or knowing rhythms. That's not important. This does it all for you. Just have a go at exploring the sounds. That's what we really want to start looking at. And when we work together with GarageBand, that's going to be our main goal, is just to experiment. So again, like the guitar, you can change the drum sound. So it might be that we want a real drum kit. Now, there are two types of drums. There's an electronic drums and there's real drums. You don't really need to know the difference. They just have different sounds. So I suggest having listened to it. So I'm going to do what I just did, but with an acoustic sounding drum kit, and you can see if you can hear the difference between the two. So we've got a kick and a snare again. Got a hi-hat. Now we've got some toms this time. Toms are fun. Cymbals, tambourine, a shaker, and some congas. So I'm not going to think about it, I'm just going to drag it in. It's quite busy, it sounds quite nice. You can take things in, you don't have to have them all in at once. So you can have a play about. So, guitar, remember just to have a listen and use the chords that are already there and recap on what we started looking at the beginning. So we've got the record button, which means that you can play something in and it will record it, and then you can listen to it back by pressing play. And this button here takes you back to the beginning. We've got different tracks, so we've got drums, we've got a keyboard, we've got guitars, we've got drummer, and I'll show you drummer next time. So don't worry about that just yet. So all we looked at today is the smart instruments. So down in the bottom left of some of the instruments it says the word smart and then the instrument. So we looked at guitar and we looked at drums, and that's it. So what I would really love is for you guys to watch this video, feel a little bit inspired, feel like maybe you know me a bit better, so that when we come together and we start making music with iPads that will provide for you, that you feel like you already know what you're getting yourself in for, that you know what there is to do. If you already write songs, then we can look a bit more in depth into how to use GarageBand. But for now, just know that you'll be able to play as many instruments as you want, thanks to GarageBand. So I look forward to doing another video for you. Thank you very much.